This image of the older Tom Hanks supporting the younger Tom Hanks we had last week as well. I just wanted to start with that we're always reaching out for connection. And when we look at overcoming shame and isolation, that's what we're really doing is we're reaching out for connection. As we become safer for ourselves and as other people become safe enough, then we don't need them to be as perfectly safe. And we're able to connect. So we can protect ourselves into isolation where we're really not taking any social risks because it's too much. Social anxiety can really limit the connections that we have with people. And there are things that we can do with that. Seekhealing.org is Dr. Rachel Wersman. She's a neuroscientist, and she talks about connection is medicine and the connection that we have with ourselves and with each other. Certainly, that's my experience too. I want to bring the brain into this, partly because our brains and our nervous system really impact so much of our daily life. This example here of someone with misophonia, the clicking, swallowing, whistling, that is something that's going on in the brain that makes it difficult to be around other people. Some of those sounds of clicking a pen or someone's whistling or the sounds of chewing gum, those kinds of things, with that condition in our brain, it actually feels like an attack. It feels like someone is attacking us. So then our nervous system interprets that as a threat and acts accordingly. We might get really angry, go into a fight response. We might go into a flight or freeze as well, but it really affects, if someone's doing that, it really affects how well we can be with them. And that's one of the things that we also tend to be shamed for as well. What's the matter with you? Why are you trying to control me, saying I can't whistle around you? And a lot of children, especially, but adults too, are shamed for being too sensitive. And sensory overload is one of the things that we're often shamed for. That's something that we could be aware of about our own self and our own brain and other people as well. When we're shamed, and we've worked quite a lot with shame because it's so powerful, this disconnection from our body is what enables us to stay. We survive by disconnecting. So we're not really staying, we're escaping. But it's not something that we have a conscious decision around. It's something that we feel uncomfortable, we pull away, we go into the shame pose. And the purpose of shame is to let us know that we've crossed a boundary, that we have done or we're doing something that is going to get us ostracized. And if we're excluded from the community that we're in or our family, we're not going to make it. We're not going to survive, especially as a child. So that's the kind of behavioral shaming that is appropriate. And the kind of toxic shaming is when it's like you should be ashamed of yourself. It's not a behavior, it's me. And that's the root of a lot of the core deficiency beliefs that we have as well. From Dr. Peter Levine, shame is one of the most corrosive and painful emotions. It can feel like death. It's the wound of not belonging. Let's sit with that for a moment and notice, what does that feel like in your body right now? Shame is also the root of the inner critic. It's one of the reasons why we feel we have to be perfect to be included. We're going to work with meeting shame with compassion for ourselves. And then as we do that, then we have the capacity to move into connection with other people. So let's do this inquiry. Start with someone who's lower stakes or mid stakes, a casual friend, a colleague. In these kind of short 10 or 15-minute inquiries, it's not usually helpful to work with a 10 out of 10 because we can get dysregulated by that and we don't have the support to come back into regulation necessarily. So when we do these with a lower stakes person, we can still have a deep experience with it, but we tend to have more ability to stay present and regulated. That's really the key when we're looking at working with trauma, is we have to be here in this moment. So one of the tools we sometimes use is we'll hold our own hands, look around the room for cues of safety. We have that, all of those different tools. We'll tap on the forehead. Do what you need to do to stay regulated. Let's look into that. So pick somebody not your highest stake person, but take somebody to work with. And you could visualize them. Some people have like an image in their mind when they visualize. Sometimes it's a little bit fuzzier, but just bring that to mind. When they make a bid for connection, can you come up with an example of that? Maybe they call you or they email or text and say, hey, do you want to get together? Or maybe it's not quite that obvious. Maybe it's you're together in a group of people and they meet your eyes or they're looking your way and smile. What's your response when they make a bid for connection? So a lot of the time, we don't notice. We're wrapped up in our own thoughts, our own experience. It might be that there's a lot of people there, or maybe we're tired, maybe there's a lot of noise. It would be unlikely that we would always notice. But when you do, is that welcome? I'm thinking of people at work sometimes who will come in and stand in your office door with coffee and they chat. And some of them chat for 2 minutes and some for an hour. Do you welcome bids from this person that you're thinking about? And what affects that? Most of us, we would welcome that some of the time and probably not other time. Sometimes when we're really busy or we're tired or we're stressed about something, their neediness just feels like too much. We need some support coming our way. We don't have our capacity. And this can be quite subtle and deep. If you've had an experience, for instance, if the person was in a fight response with you and you felt like they were scornful or condemning you, shaming you, and now they're not in the fight response anymore and they're coming back wanting to connect again, how would that feel? Is that something you've experienced as well? Oftentimes we close our heart, at least temporarily, to protect ourselves. No right or wrong here. And then let that play out for another minute or so, and then we're going to switch gears. Notice your body. How are you breathing? What are the thoughts in your mind? Notice if you're shaming yourself. Oh, I should always welcome that. Notice what's going on. If you let that come to a close, you could do the next part either with the same person or a different person. Think of someone who you make a bid for connection. Is that an experience where they always or almost always welcome that? Where if they're not able to do that, you still feel like you're welcome, you're not being rejected? It's just that you get it that they're too busy right now or something? Maybe they're cold with you, you walk away feeling shame. What are the circumstances around that? And when that happens for you, do you have a feeling of, Oh, I understand why. It's their mood, their fatigue. I'm feeling really needy. Maybe that's I've done that too much or whatever that is. Do you have the sense of what factors affect their response to your bid for connection? Go into what does that response or non response mean about you? How do you take it? Does it land on a core deficiency belief of, well, no, I'm not surprised. Nobody ever wants to hang out with me? Or what does that mean about you? How does that land? And it's not going to land the very same way every day. It's going to be different. And if there are any core deficiency beliefs being activated, see if you could notice that, let yourself be regulated. You could put the image into a frame, take your eyes around the empty space. There's all of those grounding and orienting tools you could use to be regulated as you're doing this. What about when you make a bid for your own attention? You need something, you've made a bid for connection from someone else and they're not responding. Maybe you've tried a few people and you're not getting anywhere with that. But maybe also you haven't even reached out to somebody else. Maybe you're feeling lonely or isolated or grieving or something, and you're responding to your own bid for connection. Instead of going off into a distraction or a disconnection or an addiction, you're turning right towards yourself, putting your hand on your heart or really tuning in. I respond to myself, and notice how that helps us tolerate or have a wider window of tolerance for the non responsiveness of others. It doesn't mean I'm unworthy of connection because I am worthy of my own attention. And let's work with that for a few minutes. I can respond to myself. Notice what that feels like in your body. Notice your breath. If you're not connecting in a really deep way right now with yourself, what factors affect that? Maybe you're really stressed right now, or something big's going on, or this is a tough topic. We can nibble the cookie. We don't have to do this perfectly. And over the next few minutes, we're going to shift away from the personal inquiry. As you're doing that for the next couple minutes, is there something that really comes forward that you'd like to share? Let's take another several breaths and notice that.